अस्सलाम फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप सब लोग। आई होप आप सब लोग बिल्कुल ठीक होंगे। सो वेलकम टू वीडियोलॉजी बाय इतिया शऊर। आई होप आप लोग को मेरी आवाज़ सही आ रही होगी, और अगर किसी को सही नहीं आ रही तो फिर वो कमेंट कर सकता है, ठीक है, कि मेरी आवाज़ सही नहीं आ रही। वैसे भी सब कुछ आपके सामने मटीरियल होगा, और वैसे इतना कोई इशू नहीं होगा आवाज़ सही ना आने का, ठीक है। तो हम चलते हैं अपने लेसन की तरफ। इसकी वीडियो पहले सुन लेते हैं।
Assalamualaikum. I'm Shakir Amjad. This is Business Communication. I was just writing something about punctuation. What punctuation has to do with us, we'll just see what it is. In the previous lecture, we did principles of communication. And out of the 7 principles, we did just 1 principle, and that was clarity. So, how you can make your sentences very clear, very concise, using very simple words, using very effective paragraphs, sentences, very short sentences, all these things. One thing I must you about good writing. Number 1, that you must look at very good letters and very bad letters. They'll tell you that how you can improve your communication. And the next thing is, you must write good letters, good memos, good reports yourself. So, if you do these 2 things, I'm sure that you can develop in you this good quality. So, to begin with our today's lecture, I want you to read with me 1 letter, and let's then talk about this letter. This is an original letter, a real letter. I've certainly modified it. I have picked up all the things that I wanted to share with you. So let's read it. Sir, marketing links with collaboration of ABC making efforts to create an awareness to the public and tell the people how the institute, universities, software houses, and computer vendors are working for the betterment of the new generation in the field of advanced computer education for information technology. You have just read first paragraph with me of this letter. What's wrong with this first introductory paragraph? If you look at the introductory paragraph, the first sentence is not actually a sentence. It's just in the shape of a phrase. For example, marketing links with collaboration of ABC making efforts to create an awareness to the public and tell the people. You see that the structure of the sentence before and is just a phrase. There is no subject and no predicate. And then and tell. It's a real letter. Somebody wanted to convey what they had in their mind to some audience, but they did not care of rereading this letter or revising this letter. It's not yet over. Let's look at something new. Institute, universities. They should have been parallel, either institutes and universities or institute and university. One is singular and the other is plural. They both should have been single, either singular or plural. Similarly, a very interesting thing is another paragraph of this letter. Let me read it for you. Their advertisement in the shape of banners and display tables, stalls, and their valuable opinion guidance. Again, you look at this, it's very interesting. They are confused with homophones. There we should have another there. The spelling of this there are incorrect. We should have here THEIR. In both the places, the word there has wrong spelling, incorrect spelling. It has been typed by somebody very careless. It's not a correct letter. So look at another thing. In the light of above information, we are hopeful to have your publication in the program, which will be great honor for us. Look at this, great honor for us. Great, you know the spelling. Here we need another word, that is GREAT, and honor. What are the spelling of honor? Do you agree with the spelling? Certainly not. So if you look at bad letter, they tell you that how you got to be careful regarding your communication. When you are writing letter, you need to be very careful. Your letter must be correct. Correctness is another quality of business communication and is another principle of business communication. As we discussed that business communication has 7 principles. In the last lecture, we discussed the first principle of business communication, and that was clarity. Today we are going to discuss the second principle, and that is, correctness. What is correctness? Obviously, these are a few grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, or typographical mistakes, whatever you call it. What image are you going to give to your reader? Your reader are certainly going to take you as a very careless communicator, a very careless writer. The blame is, maybe it's not your blame. The blame may be because of your poor composer of the letter, but the responsibility lies on your shoulders. Before signing the letter, you should have been careful. At least you should have read this letter. So remember that whenever you write any communication, you must revise it. I told you in the last lecture that writing is a process. It started from a brainstorming and ends with post-writing stage, in which you revise, you check spelling, you check figures, you double check it. And it's very helpful if you read aloud. Read your letter to yourself, or somebody read the things for you. This technique can be very helpful. When you are listening it, when you are reading it, you are listening it. Or when somebody is reading it, you are listening it. And this listening will help you a lot. You'll be able to correct your correspondence, your communication, or letters, memo, whatever you are doing. So it's a sort of rehearsal that you do before going into public or any oral presentation. So the same case is here. So let's see what is the correctness principle. Correctness principle needs to be understood under the influence of this letter, that you must be careful that you shouldn't be doing the same when you are writing letters. We say the correctness principle is more than proper grammar, punctuation and spelling. I just cited the example in which we just talk about grammar, spelling and punctuation. Today we are going to discuss about punctuation, a very small segment of, it's a very lengthy topic. I'm not going to going into details, but I would like to share some of the things. They can be very helpful with you. So correctness principle is to make your communication very correct. There are no grammatical mistakes, no spelling mistakes, no punctuation mistakes. But this principle says that it's more than that. So read next. A message may be perfect grammatically, mechanically, but still lose the customer and fail to achieve a purpose. Though mistakes are never intentional, they spoil our image. Errors in the message fall in the following categories. So there's something to console you. Mistakes are never intentional. But normally we have seen that we don't forgive others for mistakes, though they are never intentional. Sometimes we don't even forgive ourselves for the mistakes that we have made. So be very careful. Don't take it as an excuse that mistakes are not intentional. Whether they are intentional or not intentional, nobody's going to forgive you for this. And especially in business, just think of a situation. If you are placing an order for, let's say, for 200 envelope, and instead of writing 200, you have mistakenly added 10, what it becomes? 2000. And you wanted to write 200, 1800 envelope in excess. How are you going to deal with it? You are going to put yourself in jeopardy, in danger, even if you are one of the organization. So be very careful. So let's look at the guideline given. Mistakes in names, figures, facts and words. Mistakes in punctuation and capitalization. Mistakes in the level of language. Again, language needs to be given a lot of care. What is needed or required for make a letter correct, to give correct word, correct figures and correct names. So let's look at it. They say any mistake in names, figures, facts, etc. can make your message unclear. Such mistake can also create problems for you. So you've just seen that how mistakes in anything, in names, in figures, in spelling, can create problem for you. I just cited the example of letters, envelopes. Instead of 200, you simply wrote 2000. So it can be a big problem for you. So to avoid such situation, always follow the guideline given to you. One is, be very careful to verify your statistical data and double check your totals, and avoid guessing at laws that have an impact on you and your receiver. So this is very important that when you are writing something, let's suppose that you have to promote some prices. It's very important that you must verify the prices. Maybe you have in your mind that you know the prices, but marketing is always changing. Prices are changing. Something you think that you knew yesterday may have changed. So be very careful. And when you are making a total of something, be very careful to double check it. And one thing about the laws, especially nowadays as we are communicating across the globe, we must be very careful about the laws that are of a country that we are dealing with. For example, if you are sending some consignment to any European country, be very careful about the laws that are involved in receiving it, and the freight charges, the customs laws, etc., etc. So they can help you a lot. Always keep yourself aware of these things. And whenever you are in doubt, it's better that you must reconfirm the prices or anything that you are in doubt of. So be very careful about these things. So there is something more that you need to do regarding this correctness principle. So another guideline is that mistake in punctuation and capitalization must be avoided. Mistakes in punctuation. Sometimes we take it for granted and we think that we can do it. So I just wrote this sentence for you in the beginning of this lecture. If you look at this, they have sent us a large order. We must fill it soon. If you look at this sentence has two clauses. They have sent us a large order. This is one clause. We must fill it soon. It is another clause. So we can say that this is a two-claused sentence. This sentence has two clauses. We have a subject, we, and the whole predicate. We have a subject, we, and the whole predicate. So we have two clauses, and these two clauses are not joined by anything. So this type of a sentence is a run-on sentence, because two clauses are grouped together without any punctuation. Remember that whenever you have to bring two clauses together into one sentence, making a compound sentence, be very careful to use punctuation correctly. There are certain ways in which you can deal with such type of clauses and sentences. One way is that you should use any conjunction connector. So we have 7 conjunctions which can be used to join two clauses, making a compound sentence. For example, I have written this fan, boy. These two words are just to help you remember that which conjunctions are these. For example, F for, A for, and for, nor, B for, but, O for, or, Y for, yet, S for, so. These are 7. And these 7 conjunctions can be used to join two independent sentences or two independent clauses. So To correct this sentence, we can bring any of these conjunctions and correct this sentence. You have sent us a large order. They have sent us a large order, so we can bring so or any other. So we must fill it soon. But remember that when you bring any conjunction from this group, you must bring a comma before this. So this will be the right punctuation of the sentence. Another possibility is that instead of using any of these conjunction, you can use semicolon. They have sent us a large order, semicolon. We must fill it soon. So you can bring a semicolon. And the third thing is that you must make these two independent sentences, putting a full stop after order and capitalizing it. You must fill it soon. So this is a very common mistake that I've seen. I have noticed in communication in letters, and a lot of people make this type of mistake, that when they are dealing with component sentences, they don't care of any punctuation. Either they use a single comma or they don't bring any connector. So be very careful when you are dealing with compound sentences. A compound sentence has two clauses. One clause, as I just showed to you, a clause consists of one subject and one predicate. Predicate means what is told about the subject. So we call it, it includes verb, it includes object, it includes complement, it includes adverbial. So this whole form of predicate. So a compound sentence can have two or more clauses. Each clause consists of one subject and one predicate. Okay. So let's come back to the same discussion that we were doing regarding correctness principle, that always avoid mistakes that occur in punctuation and capitalization. Regarding capitalization, be aware, you need to capitalize the first letter of every sentence, right? You need to capitalize the names, you need to capitalize the titles, you need to capitalize the first letter in the reported sentences. You must be well versed with these rules. These rules are very common in the books available in market, and also in any book suggested for metric, intermediate or B level, and even a lot of books of at this level, MBA level, you can have these rules of punctuation and etc. So be very careful regarding these. Another thing is mistake in the level of language. Discussing this thing, that the language that you are using must be very simple, and you must not use confused word. So let's look at this. We say that there are two types of writings, formal and informal. In formal writing, our style is unconversational. In informal writing, we use words that are short, familiar, and conversational. For example, instead of saying let's commence it, if we say let's start it, I'm sure that everyone will understand what are we saying. Similarly, instead of saying approximately, if we say about, everyone will start it. But there are a few more things regarding formal and informal language. Remember that a formal style is characterized by more complex sentences. I mean, in formal writing, you are going to see more complex sentence, compound and complex. Complex sentence, which are longer, and they have one main clause and more than one subordinate clauses. So you'll find complex sentences in formal writing. For example, you are directed. If you look at this sentence, if you find such a letter or such a memo in which this sentence is given, you are directed, what is going to be your opinion regarding the writer of that? Obviously, this is very formal. There is a command of the writer. So avoid this. Another thing is that in formal writing, there are more abstract nouns instead of concrete noun. So avoid abstract noun in your informal writing, because abstract nouns are the quality of formal writing. Similarly, we frequently use it pattern in formal writing, just as it is informed, it would not be feasible for etc. etc. So it pattern is impersonal, and it brings formality in the structure of the communication. So remember that when you are using these things, as I just listed, you must be sure that you are using formal style of writing. And remember that we do have to use sometimes. I don't say that we always use informal style in certain reports, etc. Or at certain times we have to write in formal style. But normally, when we are dealing our transactions, or when we are exchanging views or exchanging communication within our organization and with other organizations for some business purpose, we normally use informal language. So let's look at the characteristics of informal language. It is characterized by short words and sentences like "Thank you very much for your letter." So if you begin your letter with such a beginning, you see that it's very simple, very understandable. Every reader understands it, right? So begin your letters with simple words, and use contractions and abbreviation. Contraction: I haven't, you haven't, they haven't, it was, etc. So they can be very helpful. And abbreviation, I mean, sometimes we have to use a word again and again. So instead of writing the whole word, it's better to use it in abbreviation. So this is how we can achieve this correctness principle, how we can convey correct information to our readers. So we discussed one quality, that was clarity, and the second quality, which is correctness. So let's look at the third quality. I told you that they have certain things which are common to all. So even today we are discussing about simple words that we discussed in the previous lecture under the heading of clarity, and we are again using the same simple word, etc., same terms today. So let's look at the third principle of communication, that is conciseness. A concise message saves time and expenses for both sender and receiver. Conciseness means that you have to convey your message in the fewest possible words without sacrificing the other C qualities. Conciseness is a very desirable quality, but conciseness should not be confused with brevity. To achieve conciseness, notice the following suggestions. So conciseness is to say something in the fewest possible word. And one thing, and the other is without sacrificing other C quality. And the third thing, it must not be confused with brevity. For example, you write a letter, which is brief. You have to book a room in some hotel, and you write, please book a room for me. I'll be reaching at a certain date. So this is a very brief letter, and your purpose is to have one room. But this is brief but not complete. He said that we want conciseness without sacrificing other C qualities. This letter is brief but not concise, not complete. Because when the reader gets your letter, he doesn't know that which type of room you want. If you're saying which side, it's a single bedroom or double bedroom. So be very careful about these things. Do not think that the reader will be taking things for granted and will be making adjustment for these gaps and will understand the whole thing by himself or herself. You don't have to make him do all these things. So in one way, it's putting burden on his shoulders. So to achieve conciseness, you must follow these suggestions as I read for you. Let's see what they are. Let's look at this letter. Mr. Hassan, in reply to yours of recent date, I wish to advise you that Mr. Naim, about whom you inquired, was terminated from his employment at Brights on July 30, due to the fact that he frequently did not appear for work at the appointed hour. So if you look at this letter is giving an information which can be given in the fewest possible word without sacrificing other C qualities. Has used a lot of words. They say that 3 out of every 10 words are unnecessary. In communication, if you write 10 words, we are using 3 words which are unnecessary. We could have conveyed the same message in 7 words. So let's see the same letters rephrased with conciseness and by using other principles of communication. We read it. Mr. Hassan, Mr. Naim's employment at Brights ended on July 30th because of excessive slackness. So you see that the same information has been given in very few words. This is concise. And this gives the reader the information that he or she wanted. So do make your communication concise by bringing it into the fewest possible word and by not confusing conciseness with brevity. So to achieve conciseness, we need to eliminate word expressions. What do word expressions do? Let's look at it. To avoid word expressions, use single words whenever possible. Here are some examples of how word economy saves the reader's time and effort. I read it for you. Word expression. I want to take this opportunity to tell you that we are grateful to you. So if you look at this sentence got more than, but the same information can be given in 2 words. Thank you. Or add one. Thank you very much. Concisely you convey the same information. Let's look at another example. We are grateful and appreciative. Appreciative and grateful both convey the same meaning. So as we did in the last lecture, that don't use words that give the same meaning. Don't repeat the word in another form. So similarly, avoid trite within that clauses whenever possible. For example, if you find such a sentence, please send us cheers which are of executive type. If you look at this, which are of executive type, this which clause can be removed. And you could have simply said, we need executive type cheers. So by revising your sentences, you can really bring this conciseness into your communication. So let's look at the other suggestion or guideline. They say, include only relevant material. Your reader will lose interest in your message if she finds irrelevant things in your message. Using only well-chosen words can help you convey relevant facts, avoid information obvious to the reader, avoid long introduction, excessive adjectives, pompous words. So as you see that when you already know that you are well introduced to your readers, so you need not repeat things. Sometimes we take time. We'll see a lot of letters in which we just write introductory paragraphs in which we simply introduce ourselves, and this introduction is not necessary. It's quite obvious to the reader. And beside it, we all know that sometimes we are writing to those people who already know a lot about those issues. So in that case, it will be unnecessary if we repeat the same information. So to achieve conciseness, you have to take care of these things. You shouldn't use adjectives, excessive adjectives. There are some people who are very fond of using adjectives. With one noun they bring more than one adjective. So be very careful not to use. You must use these things, but when they are necessary, and not sacrificing this conciseness. And another thing is beware of pompous word. Don't think that you use very good words. You know a lot of words. Your vocabulary is very good. Don't think that you should be using these pompous words, because they can confuse people. They are unnecessary. They sacrifice the quality of conciseness, and they just involve the reader to some other issues. So be very careful regarding these things. So let's see what is next. Again, we are given instructions not to use words again and again. This is avoid unnecessary repetition, avoid repetition by using pronouns, short names, or acronyms, etc. Stick to the purpose of the message. Writing concisely means using only necessary, meaningful words. So here is a guideline for you that use pronouns. I mean, as I told you, and you all already know it, that instead of using noun again and again, it's better to use pronoun. But in the use of pronoun, be very careful. Be sure that your reference to the noun is clear. Your reference to the noun is clear. There is an agreement in person. There is an agreement in person. So the case of the pronoun is also to be checked. So when you are using pronoun, be very careful. But using pronoun brings smoothness, flow into your writing. Similarly, use acronyms. For example, if you are writing a letter to your water and power authority, instead of writing every time water and power development, etc., it's better to use acronym. Now these things are very common. If you want to achieve this conciseness principle, you will have to take care of all these things that we just discussed. Use simple word, convey your message in the fewest possible words, avoid repetition, avoid using adjectives, avoid using pompous word, avoid using nouns again and again. So if you will take care of all these things, you will write messages which are very concise, which are very readable, easily readable. You give easy reading to your readers. By using these principles, you actually are helping your readers to read, to understand what you want to say. And by doing this, you are also conveying your messages to the reader. So we have gone through 3 principles: clarity, correctness, and conciseness. Now we move on to the 4th principle. Be very careful not to confuse this with anything else, with other principles. Our next and 4th principle is courtesy. Courtesy is actually a behavior, the way you behave through your correspondence. It's actually giving an image of your personality. It doesn't mean that you write thank you word, I'm pleased, etc. in your communication and you think that you have achieved this principle. Sometimes we find certain letters in which there are a lot of such words, but the tone of the communication is very threatening. I mean, the reader feels that instead of these thank you and so on and please, etc., etc., the tone is very threatening. He feels annoyed. So you must write what you want to write, but learn to write it courteously. So let's see what courtesy is. Courtesy does not mean the use of old-fashioned expressions such as your kind, inquiry, thank you, and please. Rather, it is politeness that grows out of respect and concern for others. Courtesy is a quality that enables a request to be refused without killing all hope of future business. Courtesy also means replying promptly to all letters. If you feel your correspondence comments are unfair, try to answer factfully. In short, the whole letter should have a courteous tone. It is not what you say, it is how you say it. So, there are a few very interesting things. That the tone of the letter needs to be courteous, and it's not what you say, it is how you say. I mean, the how you say is more important than what you say. You may say anything. Sometimes you do have to write certain messages in which the reader is not likely to agree. But it will certainly matter the way you communicate them or how you say. You bring your reader to a certain frame of mind when he is ready to accept, even if the information that you are sending is not in favor of him. But the way you convey your information will certainly impress upon your reader that you are doing it in his favor. So how you say is more important than what you say, because in doing this you do what you say. So we again have the guideline for it, and that is be sincerely tactful, thoughtful, and appreciative. Use expressions that show respect. Choose non-discriminatory expressions. A lot of time you have to convey certain things, write certain messages in which the reader is of another frame of mind. So be very careful. You have to convey this information very tactfully. So we have it. Sometimes you have to deal with unpleasant messages. Always remember that by using tact and being thoughtful, you can convey anything, however unpleasant it may be to your readers. Similarly, use expressions that show respect. We sometimes use expressions that lack respect for our reader. For example, if you write, I do not agree with you, you are writing an expression which is annoying. It also shows that you don't have respect for others. So you can rephrase this sentence. It shows respect, and you achieve the purpose at the same time. So be very careful when you are writing your messages that you do not annoy people. So one thing we need to know more about courtesy, we must use non-discriminatory expressions. Non-discriminatory expressions mean that such expression which refers to any particular sex or any particular group of people. So we must be careful in using these expressions. So courtesy also requires use of non-discriminatory expressions that refer to any particular gender, race, ethnic origin, etc. So instead of writing or using businessman, you must use business person or business worker. Instead of saying chairman, you must say chair or chairperson, worker, employee. So instead of using these gender-specific words like businessman, say business person or business worker. Instead of saying chairman, say chair or chairperson. Instead of saying manpower, say worker or employee. Instead of saying newsman, say newscaster or reporter or journalist. Similarly, instead of saying salesman, say salesperson or representative or agent. You know that today in the workforce we have both men and women, and if we say salesman, it may be a woman. So we need to be careful. Instead of using all these discriminatory expressions, we must avoid them and use such expressions which are positive, which convey both to male and female worker at the workplace. So today we have discussed three qualities, three principles of good communication: correctness, conciseness, and courtesy. And taking the fourth principle that we discussed in the last lecture, we have so far discussed four principles. So we have seen that a few of the things are overlapping in these four principles. But as I told you in the beginning, that they are so because of the common concern for the readers, for the audience. So that's why we want to repeat things again and again. I told you this too, that we want to develop a behavior. And for this, we need to repeat things time and again, so that they go into your mind, they go into your habits. So you develop a new set of habits whenever you are communicating, whether in writing or orally. You take care of these things. So we hope that today you must have learned these three principles, and the principle must be revised, the fourth one that we discussed in the previous lecture. And whenever you are writing now, you are thinking something about these principles. And as I told you today, that learning good communication is to look at the good examples as well as the bad examples, and then do it yourself. Write drafts of letters, of memos, of reports, and see that how good you are, and compare these things with good correspondence, so that you become a very good communicator. So it's over for today. We'll meet in the next lecture. Thank you very much.
सो फ्रेंड्स, हमारा जो टॉपिक है प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ बिजनेस कम्युनिकेशन, ये लेसन नंबर 10 था हमारा, और ये हमारा हो गया है इसकी वीडियो कंप्लीट। चलते हैं हम इसकी रीडिंग की तरफ। माय रीडिंग में हमारे पास क्या क्या कुछ है, इसमें थोड़ा ज़्यादा कुछ है। चलते हैं इंट्रोडक्शन की तरफ चल लेते हैं। इंट्रोडक्शन में है, द करेक्टनेस प्रिंसिपल इज़ मोर देन प्रॉपर ग्रामर, पंक्चुएशन एंड स्पेलिंग। अ मैसेज में बी परफेक्ट ग्रामेटिकली एंड मैथमेटिकली and mechanically, but still lose a customer and fail to achieve the purpose. And conciseness is saying what you want to say in the fewest possible words. Courtesy does not mean the use of old-fashioned expressions such as your kind inquiry, thank you. It is politeness that grows out of respect and concern for others. ठीक है, अब चलते हैं नेक्स्ट, करेक्टनेस। द करेक्टनेस प्रिंसिपल इज मोर देन प्रॉपर ग्रामर, पंक्चुएशन एंड स्पेलिंग. दो मिस्टेक्स आर नेवर इंटेंशनल, दे स्पॉइल आवर इमेज. एरर्स इन द मैसेज फॉल इन द फॉलोइंग कैटेगरीज: मिस्टेक्स इन नेम्स, figures, facts and words, mistakes in punctuation and capitalization, mistakes in the level of language, mistakes in name, figures and facts and words. So any mistakes in names, figures, facts, etc. can make your message unclear. Such mistakes can also create problems for you. Imagine if you write 2000 where you were supposed to write 200. A good check of data is having another person to read and comment on the validity of material. सही हो गया। उसके बाद mistakes in punctuation and capitalization must be avoided. So be careful to verify your statistical data. Double check your totals. Avoid guessing at laws that have an impact on you and your receiver. Makes mistakes in the level of language. There are two types of writing: formal and informal. Informal writing, our style is conversational. In informal writing, we use words that are short, familiar, and conversational. A formal style is characterized by more complex sentences. An informal style is characterized by short words and sentences. Thanks a lot for your letter. Just like this. Okay. Contraction and abbreviation. I haven't. There is simple words are examples of levels of language. ठीक है. A few examples of formal language. Okay. So ये है more formal. Participate, less formal. Join, more formal. Procure, less formal. Get, more formal. Utilize, less formal. Use, more formal. punctuation all suggest inability to use good English. ठीक है, substandard and more appropriate isn't. substandard में can't hardly can और उसमें है जनाब can hardly. फिर aim at proving, aim to prove, told, stolen, irregardless, regardless. ठीक है, उसके बाद चलते हैं आगे. कंसाइजनेस. A concise message is complete without being wordy. A concise message saves time and expense for both the sender and the receiver. It increases emphasis in the message. It shows respect for the recipient by not cluttering them in unnecessary information. To achieve conciseness, observe the following suggestions. Eliminate wordy expressions. Include only relevant material. Avoid unnecessary repetition. So हमारे पास है eliminate wordy expressions. Use single word substitutes instead of phrases whenever possible without changing meaning. Wordy at this time, concise now. Wordy due to the fact that or concise because wordy have need for need in due course soon. Omit right unnecessary expressions. Wordy, please be advised that your admission statement has been received. Your admission statement has been received. Sahi. Replace third number पे है replace wordy conventional statement with concise ones. The list you requested is attached. इसमें concise हो गया. इसमें wordy में है please find attached the list you requested और concise में हो गया the list you requested is attached. Okay. Replace wordy conventional statements with concise ones. अब इसमें वर्डी में है such refreshing comments are few and far between. So concise में such refreshing comments are scarce. और उसके बाद avoid overusing empty phrases. ठीक है, there are 4 rules that should be observed. So वर्डी हो गया ये concise. 4 rules must be observed. ये हो गया जनाब concise. सही है. उसके बाद 6 नंबर पर अवॉइड ओवर यूजिंग एम्प्टी फ्रेजेस. वर्डी में आ जाएगा इट वाज नोन बाय मिस्टर उस्मान दैट वी मस्ट रिड्यूस साइज और इन्वेंटरी. ठीक है, उसके बाद कंसाइज में हमारे पास आ गया मिस्टर उस्मान न्यू वी मस्ट रिड्यूस आवर इन्वेंटरी. ठीक है, उसके बाद ओमिट में हमारे पास आ जाएगा विच. Omit which and that clause wherever possible. She bought वर्डी में आ गया she bought desks that are of the executive type. ठीक है, she bought executive type desks. तो ये concise में का. वर्डी में the receipt that is enclosed documents your purchase. ठीक है, तो ये वर्डी में आ गया concise में the enclosed receipt documents your purchase. ठीक है, यू परचेज आ सकता है यहाँ पर. ठीक है, तो एलिमिनेट अननेसेसरी प्रपोजिशनल फ्रेज. ठीक है, वर्डी में आ गया द इशू ऑफ मोस्ट रेलेवेंस इज टीम वर्क. ठीक है, और कंसाइज में आ गया द मोस्ट रेलेवेंट इशू इज टीम वर्क. वर्डी में आ गया इन मोस्ट केसेस द डेट ऑफ द इंक्वायरी इज इंडिकेटेड इन द अपर राइट कॉर्नर. सो कंसाइज में द पॉलिसी डेट इज इन द अपर राइट कॉर्नर. लिमिट योर पैसिव वॉइस. तो वर्डी में आ गया द टोटल बैलेंस ड्यू विल बी फाउंड ऑन पेज 2 ऑफ दिस रिपोर्ट. सो कंसाइज में द बैलेंस इज ड्यू इज ऑन पेज 2 ऑफ दिस रिपोर्ट. ठीक है, वर्डी में आ गया द रिपोर्ट्स आर टू बी सबमिटेड बाय एम्प्लॉयज प्रायर टू 5 PM एट विच टाइम दे विल बी रिसीव्ड बाय अली. ठीक है, कंसाइज प्लीज सबमिट योर रिपोर्ट्स टू अली बाय 5 PM. ठीक है, उसके बाद में इंक्लूड ओनली रेलेवेंट मटेरियल. अ कंसाइज मैसेज should not only omit wordy expression but also irrelevant statements. Observe the following suggestions. Stick to the purpose of the message, delete irrelevant words and rambling sentences, omit information obvious to the reader, avoid long introductions, ठीक है, long introductions, unnecessary explanations और pompous words and gushy politeness. Okay, get to the important point tactfully and concisely. तो एग्जाम्पल में आ गया वर्डी में, we hereby wish to let you know that our company is pleased with the confidence you have proposed in us. ठीक है, कंसाइज में आ गया, we appreciate your confidence. ठीक है, उसके बाद हम चलते हैं आगे. Include only relevant material. ठीक है, a concise message should not only omit wordy expressions but also irrelevant statements. Observe the following suggestion. Stick to the purpose of the message, determine irrelevant words and rambling sentences, omit information obvious to the reader, avoid long introduction, unnecessary explanation, pompous words and gushy politeness. ठीक है, और उसके बाद get to the important point tactfully and concisely. Example हमारे पास, we hereby wish to let you know that our company is pleased with the confidence you have proposed in us. Concise हो गया, we appreciate your confidence. ठीक है, avoid unnecessary repetition. Unnecessary repetition leads to dullness. The message becomes wordy and boring. Here are some suggestions. Use short names when you have mentioned the long ones. For शौकत खानम मेमोरियल कैंसर हॉस्पिटल था, शौकत खानम और सिंपली द हॉस्पिटल. ओके, उसके बाद फिर यूज़ इनिशियल्स इंस्टेड ऑफ रिपीटिंग लॉन्ग नेम्स. इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग पाकिस्तान इंटरनेशनल एयरलाइंस यूज़ PIA. ठीक है, तो थर्ड नंबर कट आउट नीडलेस repetition of phrases or sentences. Sometimes it is possible to combine 2 or even 3 sentences using subordinate clauses of phrases. सही है. Example है, the following letter is an example of unnecessary repetition. Will you ship us sometime? Any time during the month of October would be fine, or even November, or if you are rushed, November would suit us just as well. In fact, a little bit better. 300 of the regular Dell computers. ठीक है, thank you in advance for sending these along in parcel post and not in express, as express is too expensive. ठीक है, तो आगे चल लेते हैं हम लोग. Please ship parcel post before the end of November. 300 Dell computers. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया हमारा कंसाइज में कंसाइज वर्जन लेटर का. ठीक है, यूज़ वन वर्ड इन प्लेस ऑफ फ्रेजेस, वन सेंटेंस इन प्लेस ऑफ 2, रीड आउट loud to listen for wordiness, omit outdated right expressions, ask yourself what material is really relevant, look for unnecessary repetition, does the same word or idea appear too often. ठीक है, उसके बाद recognize incorrect words, simple words, rewrite the following sentences substituting simple words for underlined words and phrases in the sentences. Our conference call will afford us an opportunity or give an opportunity. ठीक है, और या फिर इसके अलावा हम विल बी अपॉर्चुनिस्टिक भी बोल सकते हैं. ठीक है, सही है ना. इसके अलावा ज़्यादा वर्ड्स के अलावा विल बी बेनिफिशियल ये भी बोल सकते हैं. टू इंटेरोगेट द न्यूमरस remuneration proposals and consummate the rumors. ठीक है, और ये आप लोग भी करके देखिएगा, मैं भी करके देखूँगी. ठीक है, टू नो इंटेरोगेट की जगह पे तो नो आ सकता है, न्यूमरस की जगह पे फ्यू आ सकता है, रिम्यूनरेशन प्रपोजल्स मेरे ख्याल में आउटडेटेड प्रपोजल्स और अ लॉट ऑफ या फिर फेक. ठीक है, कंज्यूमेट की जगह कंज्यूमेट द रमर्स, हैव आ सकता है मेरे ख्याल में इसकी जगह. ठीक है, तो आप लोग को ज़्यादा अच्छा समझ आएगा तो कमेंट में ज़रूर बताइएगा. ठीक है, और उसके बाद हमारे पास में कंसाइज वर्ड, डिलीट एक्स्ट्रा वर्ड्स एंड रीराइट द सेंटेंसेस. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for arranging to send me a computer that is exactly identical to the one in my office. ठीक है, this letter to is to acknowledge receipt of and thank you for your check number 389939 in the amount of ₹1000. ठीक है, we have 30 reservations at the present writing, so I am at the present writing 30 reservation now, इसकी जगह पर now भी आ सकता है. So I am taking the liberty of sending you, so I am sending you an updated list. ठीक है, correct words, substitute the correct word for the underlined words and underlined words that are incorrect. ठीक है, between you and I, you and me. ठीक है, she has a long ways between you and me, she has the long way to go to be a realtor irregardless to go to be a to be a सिर्फ realtor सही है मेरे ख्याल में, of the person whom of the person ही ठीक है सिर्फ. ठीक है, you select of the person you select. I am really pleased with the candidates. I don't have but 2 pairs of shoes. I don't have but I have 2 pairs of shoes. बस इतना काफ़ी है. सही है, उसके बाद हम चलते हैं आगे. Hi dear ma'am, dear Mr. Imran, thank you for your recent letter. We were happy or pleased to hear that you are interested in marketing our range of children garments. ठीक है, but however, before we make firm decision, make up our mind, we would be grateful if you would provide हाँ इसके स्पेलिंग गलत है, सही है. would provide us with or give us or give us further information concerning the ये about को omit कर देते हैं. ठीक है, सही है, इसको omit कर देते हैं. about the organization of your firm, the territory it covers, the number of retail outlets and your market share. ठीक है, उसके बाद हमारे पास है you have to get us we would expect a minimum turnover. You have to get us यहाँ पर फुल स्टॉप लगा दें. We would expect a minimum turnover of 600,000 before being in a position to, or we could offer you a agency. We would want to get, or we would wish to achieve a market share of at least 10% in the first 2 years. Anyway, this said, if you feel your firm is able to meet these targets, it would be nice or it would be useful to arrange an appointment to have a chat about discuss the project in a bit more detail further. ठीक है, उसके बाद I will be in Karachi from 5 to 12 May and suggest we meet or get together then. If this is convenient or okay to you, please confirm with my secretary if this is all right or satisfactory. I look forward to hear from you in the near future. Hope to get letter from you soon. इन दोनों में से कोई भी आप यूज़ कर सकते हैं. Yours sincerely, all the best, Asif. So courtesy does not mean the use of old-fashioned expressions such as your kind inquiry, thank you and please. Rather, it is politeness and that grows out of respect and concern for others. Courtesy is a quality that enables a request to be refused without killing all hope for future business. Courtesy also means replying promptly to all letters. If you feel your correspondent's comments are unfair, try to answer tactfully. In short, the whole letter should have a courteous tone. It is not, it is not what you say, it is how you say it. ठीक है. उसके बाद हमारे पास में the following are suggestions for producing a courteous tone. Be sincerely tactful, thoughtful, and appreciative. Use expressions that show respect. So आगे है हमारे पास में choose non-discriminatory expressions. ठीक है. Be sincerely tactful, thoughtful, and appreciative. Sometimes you have to deal with unpleasant message. Always remember that by using tact and being thoughtful, you can convey anything, however unpleasant it may be to your readers. ठीक है. Tactless. We believe that the extent of your current obligations makes you a bad credit risk. ठीक है. उसके बाद फिर tactless है. Our credit department believes that because of your current obligations, additional credit might be difficult for you to handle at this time. Thoughtfulness and appreciation. Writers who send courteous messages of deserved congratulations and appreciation have goodwill. So use expressions that show respect. Expressions like irresponsible or I do not agree with, etc. are annoying. Use expressions that show respect for your reader and help him think positively about your message. Omit irritating expressions such as the following: contrary to your inference. If you care, you are delinquent. I am sure you must realize that. Obnoxious. Why have you ignored? ठीक है. You are delinquent or you claim that you did not tell us. Obnoxious में ये देखिए, ये obnoxious भी बोल सकते हैं उसमें. You leave us no choice. Your stubborn silence. अच्छा, तो आगे चलते हैं. चूज नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी एक्सप्रेशंस. Courtesy also requires use of non-discriminatory expressions that refer to any particular gender, race, ethnic origin, etc. Okay, so instead of these gender specific words, businessmen choose these bias free words. बिजनेसमैन की जगह पर बिजनेस पर्सन और बिजनेस वर्कर सही है. चेयरमैन की जगह पर चेयरपर्सन, वर्कर एम्प्लॉय, और मैन पावर की जगह पर वर्कर एम्प्लॉय सही है. न्यूज़मैन की जगह पर न्यूज़ कैस्टर और रिपोर्टर और जर्नलिस्ट. सेल्समैन की जगह पर सेल्स पर्सन, सेल्स रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, एजेंट. ठीक है. सिंगुलर प्रोनाउन. ही के लिए है ही, हिम. ईच कस्टमर विल बी नोटिफाइड हिज बिल. कस्टमर्स विल बी नोटिफाइड ऑन देयर बिल्स. रिवार्डेड इनटू द प्लूरल. ठीक है. प्रीवियसली मैस्कुलिन प्रोनाउन इन एक्सप्रेशन लाइक ही और हिज bill was used. The trend today is to avoid using he, him. Instead, use either he or she, him or her, or reward it into plural. ठीक है. सही हो गया. तो ये हो गया हमारा टॉपिक कंप्लीट. चलते हैं अपने अगले टॉपिक की तरफ. उसकी वीडियो को अच्छे से सुन लेते हैं. हमारा सेशन भी खैर से एक्सपायर हो गया. इसको लॉगिन करके तो हम लास्ट अभी अब तक के जितने टॉपिक्स हैं ना, तो 11 टॉपिक्स अपलोड हुए हुए. तो हम अपना टॉपिक नंबर 11 से सुन लेते हैं. ठीक है.
virtual university. I'm Shakil and this is Business Communication for you. How are you doing? How are you getting along with business communication? We have studied so far a few principles of business communication. We studied clarity, and we knew that how important clarity is. Why should we make simple sentence? Why should we bring simple words in our sentences? We studied courtesy, and we knew that how important courtesy is, that how we can achieve this principle. And we studied correctness, that how important correctness principle is, and how we can make our communication correct. So we begin our next principle. Let's read first a letter. Dear Mr. Naim, we've been pleased to sell fine furniture items for more than 2 decades. We supply the finest products to customers from all over the country. We are proud to be the only dealer in this area for both KB Anto and BC Anto. Our record shows at least a 10% increase in sales every year since Classic Furniture was founded in 1965. If you receive such a letter, what do you feel as a reader? I mean, the writer of the letter has used too many we. If we analyze the letter, we may feel that this letter is a sort of self-centered letter. The writer has focused on himself. No sentence of the letter shows that the letter is written from the reader's point of view. All the focus is on the writer. We doing this, we've been doing this, we are this, we are that, so and so, etc. So if you find such a letter, your response is not going to be positive. It may create a negative response in you as a reader. So just suppose that if you have to write a letter and you use this we approach in your letters, what is going to be with your reader? What is he going to feel about your letter? Obviously, he will simply think that the message is not for him. The writer of the letter wants to tell the reader about himself. So such a letter can create negative feelings in the reader. And being a writer, being a good communicator, you must avoid this thing. This letter lacks empathy. This letter lacks you attitude. This letter lacks a very important principle of communication, and that is consideration. So whenever you are writing letters, you are writing memos, reports, letter, or you're sending messages of any type, the most important thing for you is to be in the shoes of your reader, to feel how is your reader going to react to your letter, how he's going to feel about your letter, the same way as when you read a letter, how you feel about it. So to achieve this consideration, you need to follow certain guidelines, the same guidelines as we had in the previous principles. So let's see that what consideration principle has for us. Consideration means writing every letter with your reader in mind. It also means acting on the you attitude. When we put ourselves in our reader's place, we are considerate. We can understand our reader's desire, problems, circumstances, and emotions. This thoughtful consideration is exactly what you attitude is. So we can achieve it through different guidelines. So what is consideration? Consideration is to be in the shoes of your reader, in the place of your reader. I mean, when you are writing a letter, you got to think of your reader, that what are his problems? What are his emotions? How is he going to react to your letter? What he expects from you. So when you think of your reader in this way, you have empathy for your reader, you have feelings for your reader. You will certainly try to give him all the information in that way which is acceptable to him. We all know that in a business context, we have to talk with messages, both good messages and bad news messages. Because as a writer, we have to deal with all types of situations. So when we are writing good news messages, the messages are good for the reader. He may not think of any aspect, any unpleasant aspect or aspect that is not very positive. But when we are dealing with bad news messages, for example, we have to refuse an inquiry, we have to refuse an order, we have to make a complaint, we have to refuse an adjustment, we have to write letters threatening legal action in the last stage of election series. So when we are dealing with such types of messages, we need to think from the reader's angle that how he is going to take the message that we are sending to him. So we need to be very thoughtful. We need to consider the reader, his problems, his desires, his emotions, his circumstances. Maybe, for example, there is a customer who hasn't paid you so far, and the time is due for his payment, rather overdue, and you got to write. You got to give him a time, a chance to explain that why he's not sending you the payment, instead of writing a very direct letter or a message. So always achieve this principle in your correspondence, your messages, and this principle is consideration. So to achieve consideration, you need to follow certain guidelines, right? The first one is focus on you instead of I and we. Show audience benefit or interest. Emphasize positive, pleasant fact. So the first principle is focus on you instead of I and we. The letter I just read for you is a we attitude letter. Every sentence of the letter gives the impression to the reader that it was the writer of the letter who want to picture himself instead of picturing the customer, the reader. So how can we achieve this quality? Let's see what are the principles for this. So as I said, focus on you instead of I and we. So if you find such a sentence in a letter that we are delighted to inform you that we are going to open our store for another 2 hours. So what's in for you? It may benefit the writer of the letter. But if the same message is found in this way, that you will be pleased to know that now you can shop for another extra hour or extra 2 hours. So it means that now the writer has written the letter from your point of view, from your angle. So always write letter emphasizing you attitude instead of I or V attitude. Let's read a letter and see that whether this letter has a U attitude or V or I attitude. Dear Mr. Tariq, we are pleased to have you as a new student at Business College. We offer many advantages to our students. We have the latest audio video teaching aids in our classrooms, and our faculty are among the most dedicated in the country. We are very proud of our 100% placement rate for our graduates. So if you look at this letter, again this letter shows V attitude. I mean every sentence beginning with V, 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 V. So you feel that the writer of the letter is a self-centered man. He has selfishly given a picture of himself. So there is nothing for you in it. All the focus is on the writer instead of the reader. So be very careful when you are planning, designing, talking out, drafting your messages, any type of messages, internal messages or external messages. What you need to know is that you have to write your messages from you attitude, from the readers in your mind, keeping the reader in your mind, his problems, his desire, his circumstances, his emotions, whatever, so that the reader could feel that you have written the letter for him. You want to convey some message, whether this message carries in some good news or some bad news. So we'll see that writing letter is very important, especially from reader's point of view. So when you write a letter, the most important thing in your mind should be your reader, and then you should start writing, start telling it what you want to convey, right? So let's move on to the next. Show audience benefit or interest. Your reader is likely to show response positively when you show them benefits. Even in conveying unfavorable messages to your reader, you can plan it in a way the reader finds some benefits. So we can always give something to our reader while writing bad messages. For example, in collection series, we have to write sometimes very unpleasant letters tracking legal actions. So even in these types of letters, we can give a chance, give a benefit to our reader that if the check is received, there won't be any problem for him. So always keep in your mind that whenever you are writing your letter, you are giving some benefit. The reader of the letter feels that he has received something for you after he has read the letter, after he has received a message. So this is what brings consideration in your communication. What is the third guideline for it? Emphasize positive, pleasant facts. Another way to show your attitude for your reader is to present facts in a positive, pleasant way. For example, dear Mr. Tariq, I'm sorry that we are presently out of stock of black handbags and will be unable to fill your order at this time. An order has been placed with the manufacturer in the color you want. We will receive shipment after 10 days. I trust this delay will not inconvenience you. Yours very sincerely. So, if you look at this letter, again there is nothing positive for the reader. It feels that the reader is being slapped down. Obviously, it happens in our business situations that a lot of time we receive an order and we are unable to fill the order. But writing these types of letter without any consideration can kill our future dealings with the customers. So if we rewrite the same letter using this principle of consideration, we can show the reader that we care for him, that we are considerate, that we want him to benefit from his dealing with us. So let's look at this letter after going through with consideration. Dear Mr. Tariq, thank you for ordering a black handbag. The color you chose proved to be very popular, and we quickly sold all we had in stock. However, we placed a rush order for more and our promised delivery within 10 days. Yours will be shipped the same day our new supply arrives. I know you will be delighted with the unique carry-on handbag. Mr. Tariq is not only very handsome, but incredibly inexpensive. Yours very sincerely. So, if you look at this letter, which is rephrased with consideration, this letter has a different effect on the reader. Though there is a delay for the reader, who is waiting for the bag to receive. But when he receives such a letter, he's certainly going to be very happy that you care him a lot, that you want him to use your bag. And obviously, you have win over the customer. Now there won't be any problem. You won't be angry because during this delay, he has received some message from you. You are in communication with him. So, using consideration can make a successful communicator. If we bring letters in a positive frame of mind, by using these principles, we can be very successful communicator. So this is consideration. And what consideration is? Consideration is that you chalk out your messages, design your messages in the shoes of your receiver, your reader, thinking what are his problems, thinking what are his circumstances, thinking about his emotion. So always write your messages with consideration. You know that I said that you have to form a new set of writing habits. You have to learn that how you can best explain yourself, how you can achieve your benefit, and how you can give benefit to your reader through your communication. So this is what business communication is all about. Now we go on to the next principle, that is clarity. Clarity again is a very important principle of business communication. Dear Mr. Tariq, thank you for ordering a black handbag. The color you chose proved to be very popular, and we quickly sold all we had in stock. However, we have placed a rush order for more and our promised delivery within 10 days. Yours will be shipped the same day our new supply arrives. I know you'll be delighted with the unique carry-on handbag. Mr. Tariq, it's not only very handsome, but incredibly inexpensive. Yours very sincerely. So, now if you look at this letter is full of consideration. You at the customer who is in the mind, the reader who is in the picture. The writer is talking about the reader's problem, reader's emotions, not about his own emotions. So, courtesy can bring such softness in your letters, this quality in your letter, that your reader feels that you are doing whatever you are doing for his sake. He feels that you have planned a letter for him, not you are telling about yourself. So, whenever you are writing letters, messages, think that how your reader is going to feel, how you can give him the sense of you attitude, empathy, consideration. This will make you a very successful communicator. And you know that we want to be a very successful communicator. We have to learn, we have to adopt new habits and new set of habits, cultivate a new set of habits. So be very positive when you are writing letter. Think of the benefit of your reader, explain facts in a positive way, give some benefit even if you are writing negative messages. But obviously, in some certain situations, we feel that writing letters, starting messages with you can be negative. So be very careful that you have to think in mind that whenever you have to write letter, whenever you have to use this you attitude should be used for some positive purpose. And if you feel that writing you attitude can give a sense of negativity to your reader, there come certain situations. So be very careful. You have to cultivate this sense in you, that when and when not to use this. Now let's move on to the next principle, that is completeness. Completeness principle is also very important. It's quite close to clarity, but let's see that what's this completeness principle is. We say a business message is complete when it contains all facts that the reader or listener needs for the reaction you desire. Senders and receivers are influenced by their background, viewpoint, needs, experience, attitude, status, and emotion. Because of their difference, the receiver needs to be sure that he has included all relevant information. Completeness is closely related to clarity. So a complete letter is what? Which has all the information that the reader requires. Whenever a writer is writing a letter, he wants to convey some information to the reader. But it's very important that he must keep in his mind the background, the experience, the status, the viewpoint of the reader. So it will determine that what is to be conveyed and what is not to be conveyed. And this will make the letter complete. Completeness is a very desirable quality, because if your letter is complete, it can bring back the desired result. Obviously, for example, if you want to know about certain items you are interested in purchasing, and you have given all the specification about that goods, about the commodity, so the reader will be in a better position to tell you, and you will have your desired results. So by completing your letter, you get the desired result. Not only you get the desired result, it achieves goodwill for you. It saves your time as well as your reader's time. Because if you write complete letters, giving complete information, so there would be only one answer to it. But if you send some incomplete information, simply in that case, there will be another letter asking you that what exactly you want. For example, if you want to buy a certain type of computer, you need to tell that exactly what type of computer you want. You got to give certain specifications. So if you simply write that I want to buy a computer of a certain company, and you do not give any specification, there will be a letter from the reader asking you what about the specification. So it will cost you and your reader. Besides, it helps us in certain other way. It helps us from going into lawsuits. So especially when we are making contracts of different types, such as placing an order, because it's also a type of contract. We need to give complete information, failing which can sometimes take us to lawsuits, court of law. So complete letters are very important. Completeness brings desired results. They save us from lawsuits. They help us earn goodwill in the market, and they build up our image within the organization and outside the organization. So you must write your letter which are complete. Completeness principle must be followed. It's quite near to clarity, as I just said. So clarity, bringing your message across. So when you send your message, convey your message from your mind to your reader's mind, you are giving complete information. So that's why it's closer to clarity. So we have guideline for it too. So let's see what is this guideline. Provide all necessary information. Your reader needs to know how much, what size, what type, and other details. To achieve this, your message should answer the 5 W's and 1 H. So provide all necessary information. If you want to invite somebody to your organization, you need to tell him that when do you want that gentleman to come, why, what is the purpose, and how it's going to be. So in most of the letter, we give information having these 5 W's and 1 H in mind, and we want information to receive having all these 5 W's and 1 H. So when you are writing a letter, be very careful about these things, because they will help you in giving complete information and in receiving complete information. Whereas, for example, you're placing order, what size you want, how do you want the things to the assignment to reach you, what is going to be the method of payment, of mode of transportation. So these what, where, when, why, etc., and how are very helpful in conveying messages, in writing messages. They can bring completeness in our messages. So whenever you are going to write messages, take care of these 5 W's and 1 H. So the other guideline is answer all questions asked. Replying to an inquiry or request, answer all questions asked, and even anticipate the reader's reaction by providing other relevant information. So answer all questions. Obviously, when you receive an inquiry, sometimes it is simply about some price list catalog of your company. But sometimes there are details details about some color, details about sizes of the product, details about certain other specification, details about the delivery of the product, details about discounts, etc. So there are a lot of questions in one letter. It's very important that you must answer all the questions. And sometimes you feel that there should be any question, an important question regarding a certain message, and you feel that if the writer of the letter has not asked that, you must give an answer to that question, the question that is already in your mind. So this is very important, that you must answer all the questions. It can be achieved through this technique, that whenever you receive a question, you have a pen or a ballpoint or a pencil in your hand, and when you are reading it, just underline and number that question number 1, question number 2, question number 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. So when you are going to write an answer to such a letter, what are you going to do? You are going to write answer to each question asked. And as I told you, sometimes there is no question asked, but you feel that there should be this question too. So you give an answer to that question. This can be very helpful. So to achieve completeness, answer all the questions. And the questions that are asked and the questions that are implied, that have not been asked, but you think that they need to be answered. So this is the second principle to achieve completeness. And what's the third principle? Give something extra when desirable. Sometimes as an intelligent writer, you know what your reader may need to know about any certain thing. In this case, you must include anything that is of your reader's benefit. So, as I just said, that as an intelligent reader, whenever you feel that you need to give some extra information to your reader, do give it. For example, if somebody has asked you about one certain product of your company, and you think that there can be other things which will give your reader a better choice, a better way to pick it, it's better that you give him extra information. Sometimes we invite people to our organizations, so it's very positive and brings completeness that if we properly guide them, that how they can reach our place. So if we are considerate, we'll be sure to give complete information. We'll picture our customer, we'll be in the shoes of our reader, that how he's going to feel about this situation and what he needs. So when we are in the shoes of our reader, in the place of our reader, we can picture that what are his problems. So this thing can bring completeness in our messages. So let's look at a letter which has this completeness. I don't want to give you always a bad letter. Sometimes let's look at some good letter. And do you remember that in the last lecture I said that if you want to be a very good communicator, what you need to do is you need to look at good example as well as bad example. Number 1 and number 2, you need to write letters, memos, reports, etc. of your own to see that how are you improving. So this will help you a lot, I tell you. So let's read this letter. Dear Mr. Naim, we are setting up our new course program on Monday, August 21. We should very much like to have you as our guest speaker. Our members have a particular interest in hearing a talk on how to give better presentation. As a matter of fact, we are all interested in finding out how we could help ourselves with our presentation problems. Our program calls for a 50-minute presentation by the speaker, but you may take more or less time as you wish. I hope you can accept this invitation. If you can, I shall write you again, giving you all the details, time, place, and complete program plans. Cordially yours. So if you look at this letter is complete. It gives every type of information that the reader requires. I mean, the reader wants to know that why he is required. So we have given what topic he is required to be taught. It's there. So this letter contains all the information, and you have also added the last paragraph telling him that if he accepts this invitation, he'll be provided further information. So students, whenever you are going to write your letters, be sure that your letters are complete. And to make your letter complete, to achieve this principle of completeness, what you need to know, you need to answer all the questions. You need to give extra information. You have to keep in mind 5 W's and 1 H, etc. And be sure that it builds up your image, your goodwill, yours as well as your organization's goodwill. So we come on to the next principle, that is concreteness. So if you make such a statement that your results have been excellent, this type of a statement lacks concreteness. Compare it. If you say that your results have been 90% or your results have been 95%, so in that case you are concrete, you are definite, you are vivid. So this is what concreteness principle is. A lot of time we talk about an issue, we discuss an issue, and we find that the topic has some vagueness in it. The things are not very clear. So when we encounter such a situation, it means that we lack concreteness principle. If we write such a letter that please send us this order as early as possible, we are becoming vague. But if we write that please send us this order by 21st August or give any date, we are vivid. The reader knows that when the order is to be filled. So there is no chance of vagueness or anything else. So you also need to look at this principle very carefully. So let's see what it is. Concreteness means that a message is specific, definite, and vivid. If a message lacks these qualities, it will be vague and general. To achieve concreteness, denotative words will be used instead of connotative words. By using concrete facts and figures, you can make your reader show exactly what is required or desired. Concrete messages are more richly textured, and they avoid vagueness. So, to achieve concreteness, we need to use denotative words instead of connotative. You must remember that while studying, discussing convention of meaning, we said that we got to be very particular in the use of words. When we are using words, we must be sure that they are simple, understandable, they are being used in the dictionary meaning. So using word in the dictionary meaning is using word denotatively. And using word in a suggestive way, in a qualitative way, is using words connotatively. So be very careful that you must use words in the simple dictionary meaning. To achieve concreteness, you also need to give facts and figure in a concrete way, the way they are very understandable to your reader, to your recipient of the message. So this can be achieved through these guidelines. Use specific facts and figures. Always use specific facts and figures in your messages. For example, please send us the following items by the end of this month. So if you write such a sentence, this has vagueness in it. What is the vagueness in it? End of the month. No date is given. So you have put your reader into this frame of mind when he'll have to think that when he is to place your order, there is a vagueness in it. Instead of this, if you write this sentence in this way, the following items should reach us on or before 21st August. Now the reader finds that when is the deadline, when he has to send your goods, assignments. So to achieve this completeness principle, to bring vividness, definiteness into your letters, into your messages, be very careful not to use vague information in your letter. And another thing is, that is the next guideline is, use active verb in your sentences. We write sentences that are either active or passive. We have got two voices, active voice and passive voice. Simply explaining what active voice and passive voice is, that in active voice, we have the doer of the action in its place. I mean, before the verb, we have the doer of the action. In a passive sentence, the subject is not the doer of the action, it's the object. For example, they have placed an order, in which place is the verb and they is the subject, and we have subject in its place. The order was placed. In this sentence, the place is the subject, but it's not the doer of the action of place. Rather, it's the receiver of the action. So this is what we can say about active and passive verb. All we write in any message is either an active sentence or a passive sentence. Be very careful, because writing sentences using active and using passive verb conveys a lot of other things. Active verbs also make sentences specific, personal, and concise. So one thing is that active verbs make sentences specific, personal, and concise. Specific. I mean, you very surely know that who is the doer of the action. Personal. I mean, since the subject is in the beginning of the sentence, so he conveys himself. And concise. Concise. They placed an order. They placed an order. It got 4 words in it. The order was placed by them. The order was placed by them. So it got 6 words. So an active sentence is always concise. It got fewer words. And a passive sentence is always a longer one. There is an addition of some verb in it. So we need to be very careful regarding. It doesn't mean that we should not use a passive sentence. We do use a passive sentence whenever it is required. But in a certain situation, and this is what you need to know, that in what situation we must write active sentences and in what situation we must write passive sentences. Because this concept is very important. And every little writer, every good communicator need to know all these things about the structure. I must say that you must learn the structure of a sentence, because the structure of a sentence is very important for your good communication. The foundation of good communication is basically the knowledge of pure English in its foundation, and all the rest of the things come after it. Unless you know the simple English, you are not going to add all these qualities that we are discussing about good communication. First, you must know the structure of the sentence. If the structure of the sentence is correct, then you can think of these qualities. So you got to put active verbs most of the time instead of passive verb, because active verb bring conciseness in your sentences, in your communication, and other things. So you need to bring specific facts into your communication. For this purpose, you use active verbs. So the active verbs are specific. The chief executive decided. If you take up this sentence, the chief executive decided, this is more personal, concise. Instead of saying a decision has been made by the chief executive. Well, the second sentence is very long. So personal, you will note it's a personal instead of it will be noted. It's impersonal. It doesn't give a personal touch. It doesn't create a relationship between the reader and the writer. Conciseness, figures show. If you change this, it is shown by the figures. So a longer sentence. Emphatic, emphasize. The student held the contest. The contest was held by the student. So the first sentence emphasizes the fact, whereas second it doesn't. Similarly, when you are using active sentences, what you are doing, you are becoming personal specific. But when we are in a certain situation, like what I'm going to discuss, we need to use passive sentence instead of active sentence. So look at this. When you want to avoid personal blunt accusation or comments, you must use a passive sentence. When you want to avoid personal accusation or blunt comment, you need to use passive sentence. For example, instead of saying you are dismissed, if you say I dismiss you is an active sentence. You are dismissed is a passive sentence. But you can understand that when you say I dismiss you and when you say you are dismissed, these two things are two completely different things. They are conveying to different bent of mind of the reader. So in such a situation, when we have to convey some unpleasant situation, we need to use passive instead of active. So similarly, when you want to stress the object of the action, sometimes we need to give the object instead of telling about the subject. So it's better that we should use a passive sentence. For example, you are invited instead of saying I or we invite you. Similarly, when the doer isn't important in the sentence, in a lot of sentences, the doer is not important. So in this situation, it's better that we should write a passive sentence. For example, you are asked to take your seat. In a gathering, you make such a comment. So it's better that you use passive instead of I ask you to take your seat. Similarly, use verb instead of noun. So writing such a sentence in which you say, the duty of this department is the collection of bad debts. Here you have brought collection as a noun. If you say this department collects bad debts, this is more concise and vivid. Similarly, don't use infinitive. I mean, the duty of this department is to collect, because they hide the action. They hide the action. So these are few things that we can discuss about concreteness by avoiding whenever is important an active sentence, and by avoiding whenever is important a passive sentence. We can bring concreteness by conveying things in facts and figures in more vivid way. We can bring this concreteness into our communication. So we have discussed 7 principles of communication, or 7 qualities of communication. These are also called 7 C's, and these are very important. I'm sure that since we started the first quality, you have gone through a change regarding your communication. You must be sure now to know that how you can achieve clarity, completeness, consideration, courtesy, and correctness into your messages in anything that you write. So keep practicing. Write messages on your own and see the difference. First, take some examples, some good example, and read it, and then try to rewrite it. And you'll feel the difference, and then make a comparison of the two. So by doing this, you will improve day by day. Our purpose is not only to pass the examination, but also to improve these qualities in us. So I want that you must learn these principles and apply these principles into your daily life. In the next lecture, we'll see that we'll do some exercise regarding these principles and see that how much we have learned from these principles, these guidelines that we've been discussing in these 2-3 lectures. So it's all over for today. Before I should leave, I must tell you that I told you in the first lecture that these lectures will be bilingual, both Urdu and English. We had few lectures in Urdu, and now I think that we have developed a rapport. I mean, we have developed a relationship as teacher and student, and now you understand me to some extent, I'm sure. So I'll keep these lectures in English now, and I hope that there won't be any problem. You have tried a lot of things, so keep reading the books, keep listening the lectures, and keep practicing. And we finish our lecture of the day. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
कंसिडरेशन, कंप्लीटनेस एंड कंसाइजनेस. तो इंट्रोडक्शन में आ जाएगा. Consideration means writing every letter with your reader's mind, with your reader in mind. It also means acting on the you attitude. When we put ourselves in our reader's place, we are considerate. We can understand our reader's desires, problems, circumstances, and emotions. This thoughtful consideration is exactly you attitude. 3 specific ways to indicate consideration are: focus on you instead of I and we, show audience benefits or interest, and emphasize positive, pleasant facts. So let's move ahead. Writing considerate messages. So message. For writing considerate message, think how your reader will benefit from your message. For example, I or we attitude. We are delighted to announce. You attitude. You will be pleased to know. Showing consideration for the audience involves more than just using you instead of I or we. Message you can be insensitive in negative situation. Insensitive, you fail to close your check in the envelope. Consideration, the check was not enclosed. ठीक है. Show audience benefits or interest. Your reader is likely to respond positively when you show them benefits. Even in conveying unfavorable message to your reader, you can plan it in a way the reader finds some benefits in it. ठीक है. उसके बाद benefits must meet recipient needs, address their concern or offer them reward. Merely inserting using the you does not ensure you attitude. For example, you will be glad to know that we now open till 11 to 11 p.m. every day, weekday. So next is we or you despite you in forefront. This sentence lacks you attitude. This can be revised with you attitude. ठीक है, you can now stop till 11 p.m. every day. ठीक है, सही हो गया. उसके बाद हमारे पास emphasize positive pleasant facts. Another way to show you attitude for your reader is to present facts in a positive pleasant way. For example, negative unpleasant. It is impossible to open an account for you today. Positive pleasant. As soon as your signature card reaches us, we gladly open an account. So you can study this letter as it is a negative and unpleasant. ठीक है, इसको read out कर लेते हैं. Dear Mr. Tariq, I'm sorry that we are presently out of stock of black handbags and will be unable to fill your order at this time. An order has been placed with the manufacturer in the color you want. You will receive shipment after 10 days. After 10 days हो सकता है यहाँ पर. I trust that this delay will not inconvenience you. Yours very sincerely. ठीक है, the same letter is written positive and pleasantly. Dear Mr. Tai, thank you for order of a black handbag. ठीक है, the color you choose proved to be very popular and we quickly sold all we had in stock. हो सकता है. ठीक है, however we have placed a rush order for more and are promised delivery within 10 days. Yours will be shipped the same day. Our new supply arrives. ठीक है, और आगे है I know you will be delighted with the unique carry-on bag. Mr. Hassan is not only very handsome but incredible inexpensive. ठीक है, you're very sincerely. ठीक है, next is completeness. Our business message is complete when it contains all facts that the reader or listener needs for the reaction you desire. Senders and receivers are influenced by their background, viewpoint, needs, experience, attitude, status and emotions. Because of their difference, the receiver needs to be sure that he has a complete message he has included all relevant information. Completeness is closely related to clarity. A complete message brings desired result. It does a better job of building goodwill. It helps remove costly, unimportant, can be surprisingly costly lawsuits that may result if important information is missing. Moreover, the communications that seems unimportant can be surprisingly important if the information is complete and effective. For example, for completeness, keep the following guidelines in mind. Provide all necessary information. Answer all questions asked. Give something extra when desirable. Okay. Provide all necessary information. Writing message, check to make sure you have provide all information the reader needs for understanding. Your reader needs to know how much, what size, what type and other details. To achieve this clarity, your message should answer the 5 W's and 1 H. Answer all questions asked, replying to an inquiry or request. Answer all questions asked and even anticipate the reader's reaction by providing other relevant information. सही है. उसके बाद give something extra when desirable. Sometimes as an intelligent writer, you know what your reader may need to know about any certain thing. In this case, you must include anything that is of your age, benefit. Use your good judgments in offering additional material. If the sender's message is incomplete, question how come my request for an interview letter did not receive a response. When यूजिंग करेक्टनेस कंक्रीट, सॉरी ये है हम लोग पढ़े कंक्रीटनेस, सॉरी कंक्रीटनेस, ठीक है। कंक्रीटनेस मीन्स that a message is specific, definite and vivid. If a message lacks these qualities, it will be vague and general. To achieve concreteness, denotative words will be used instead of connotative words. By using concrete facts and figures, you can make your reader know exactly what is required or desired. Concrete messages are more richly textured. They avoid vagueness, ठीक है। The following guidelines should help you compose concrete, convincing messages, ठीक है। Use specific facts and figures. Put active verbs in the sentences. Use specific facts and figures. Always use specific facts and figures in your message. For example, vague, please send us the following item by the end of this month. Or clear, the following item should reach us on or before 21st August, ठीक है। इसके बाद put active verbs in the sentence. Active verbs make writing forceful and more interesting to read or hear. Passive, the proposal was approved. Active, the general manager approved the proposal. Active verbs also make sentence specific, personal and concise. Specific, the chief executive decided. It is more explicit than a decision has been made. Personal, you will note is both personal and specific. It will be noted is impersonal, ठीक है। Concise, the passive requires more words and thus slows both writing and reading. Compare, figures show with it is shown by figures, ठीक है। और इसके बाद emphatic, passive verbs, dull action. Compare, the students held a contest was held by the students, ठीक है। इसमें ज़्यादा वर्ड्स है, इसमें कम है, ठीक है। उसके बाद फिर however आप positive sentences prefer to है। Active, when situation demands. Following are few examples. When you want to avoid personal blunt accusations or comments, attendance at the meeting is required. Is less harsh than you must attend, ठीक है। When you want to stress the object of the action you are invited is better than we invite you, ठीक है। When the doer isn't important in the sentence, people were asked to take their seats. Put actions in verbs, not in nouns. Use verbs, not nouns. 7 verbs be given. 7 verbs be, give, have, hold, made, put and take may be avoid as they introduce an action hidden. The function of this office is collection of bad debts, ठीक है। Action in the verb, this office collects bad debts, ठीक है। Put action in verb, not in infinitive, सही है क्या। Action in infinitive, the main action of this machine is to speed up production. Action is in verb, the machine speeds up the production. ओके जनाब, तो हो गया है ये टॉपिक भी हमारा डन। बहुत अच्छे से समझ आ गया इसका, तो सही है। तो आई होप आप लोगों को भी समझ आ गया होगा। तो अभी तक इसके यही टॉपिक्स जो हैं वो अपलोड हुए हैं हमारे LMS पर, ठीक है। तो हम लोग इसको लॉगिन करके देख लेते हैं। इसका अगला टॉपिक भी अगर